What is going on, everybody? It's your boy John, and welcome back to Gearbox. So we are here in a beautiful, beautiful Thursday afternoon here in Greenville, South Carolina, and we're about to talk about something that is pretty damn exciting. Yes, by the title and thumbnail of this video, you know we are talking about the 2027 Mark 6 Toyota Supra. There's a lot to talk about, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So to be honest with you guys, when I first saw the news about the 2026 Mark 6 Toyota Supra, I was pretty freaking excited. Clearly, there's been a phenomenal response to the Mark 5 Toyota Supra, and so why would Toyota not go ahead and continue the R&D in the Supra platform? And they've done just that. Now, one of the most interesting points that I read right off the bat about this car, and of course it's still in development, there are still some things that they need to nail down, but one of the craziest things that I read was originally this car was supposed to be an EV, or at least have an EV option. Now, of course, EVs and electric vehicles in general have become very, very popular, but especially in the kind of realm of sports cars, supercars, etc. Really, all of them are going that direction in one way, shape, or form. Now, as time has gone on and conversations have been had with Toyota, it seems as though Toyota is going to go with a inline four-cylinder turbocharged engine with a hybrid battery, attached to it, right? Which in my mind is kind of the lesser of two evils. I'm here for it. I'll be interested to see kind of how that plays out in the world of the Toyota Supra. I'm sure there will be a lot of torque. I'm sure it will be a lot of fun. And of course, the horsepower numbers are going to be significantly increased just based on the instant torque given by the hybrid motor. But as far as like power delivery to a rear wheel drive vehicle, I'm going to be interested to see how that goes as it compares to the inline six twin scroll turbo Mark 5, right? But nonetheless, powertrain, very, very interesting. So we're gonna just have to wait and see what it all brings to the table. Now, outside of the powertrain of the Mark 6 Supra, I think the very best news that I received while reading these articles was that this car is going to be developed solely by Toyota. No more BMW, Toyota, mating type of stuff. No more BMW jokes, as we're right here. And yes, I am listening to this banger right now, even though it's turned down for copyright purposes. Anyway, no more BMW stuff, which I think could be a very, very good thing if done correctly. I know there's a lot of jokes out there about this being on the Z4 chassis and all the BMW parts or whatever, but as time has gone on, I think people have realized that the Toyota BMW kind of mesh on the Mark 5 Supra has been an overwhelming success. So assuming everything goes right, hopefully the Mark 6 will trump that, but in the off chance that it doesn't, it will be a massive failure in the Toyota standpoint. So we'll see. Obviously, time will tell, but that's definitely a very, very big point there, bringing it back to the full Toyota roots, and if only there was a 2JZ or some sort of JZ variant in it. But I digress. Now, I know that I've already kind of talked about the horsepower numbers with the inline turbo 4 hybrid motor for the Mark 6 Supra, but one number that I saw specifically that kind of stood out to me was the fact that estimated horsepower was going to be around low 400s, essentially. Now, for those who are unaware, for one reason or another, the Mark 5 real Supra, let's just call it as it is, but the 6-cylinder turbo comes from factory at 382 horsepower. So let's call it a conservative 410 horsepower on the Mark 6. That's going to be about a 30 horsepower jump from the Mark 5, so increasing power there. but as we already talked about as well, the torque will be increased significantly, having the hybrid option down low in gears 1 through 3, let's call it. I'm curious to see what sort of transmission they pair up with the Mk6 Supra, especially given the fact that now that it's all Toyota, we're probably not going to see a ZF transmission. I pray to God that they still include a manual, because I think that was a big mess up by Toyota for the Mk5, launching with just an automatic. As much as I love this transmission, it's a Supra, put a 6-speed in it, just cut to the chase. It is what it is. But I'm really interested to see how that powertrain, drivetrain, everything like that kind of marries up into hopefully a beautiful example in the lineage of Toyota Supra, and should be appreciated for years to come. Now, another point that stood out to me in these articles that I've read and videos that I've watched is, outside of just the inline-4, hybrid, whatever, and of course the new body styling and all of that sort of stuff, but what I've also seen is that there's a potential for a carbon neutral option fuel source. Now, what that is, I don't know. Of course, electricity, I guess, on paper would be more of a carbon neutral fuel source than most. I'm not getting into it. That's a whole long story. But once again, really embracing the whole idea of getting away from high displacement internal combustion engines, lowering the displacement, lowering the amount of cylinders, and coupling that with a hybrid motor. And once again, we see that in all cars nowadays. Anything from a Camry or a Prius or a Tahoe, all the way up to, Ferraris, Lambos, Jaguars, Paganis, you name it. It's there, and it's there to stay. And of course, coming from the super and hypercar level, trickling down into the levels of Corvettes and Supras and Mustangs and whatever, from a sports car perspective, it seems like that's where we're going to be for the foreseeable future. Now, having that coupled with a, let's call it, alternative fuel source will be a very interesting development process. R&D, all of the stuff that goes into that. I'm very excited to see where this actually lands in the market as the Mk6 Toyota Supra. Now, with all this being said, as excited as I am about the Supra legend living on into another evolution, I think it's a big win for Toyota to keep this, story going, for lack of a better term. But I do think it is a sad day for Supras as well. I would go ahead and probably go on record saying, gone are the days of the inline turbo 6 Supras, right? I don't think if they actually go forward with the Turbo 4 hybrid, there's no way that you will get back to a 6-cylinder Supra. And really, at the end of the day, is it that big of a deal? No, it's not. It's a different power plant. It'll put down more power. It'll do all the things the way you want it to do it. But it's a legacy thing, I think Supras and, I guess to an extent, GTRs are going to be, associated with a 6-cylinder, somewhat somehow turbocharged engine, right? Whether we're talking single turbo, twin turbo, whatever. So that part of the Toyota Supra, in my opinion, has officially died off, but it hasn't necessarily died off for the worst. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of good to still come from the Mk6 Supra, but it's just going to be a different era, and we're going to have to see how Toyota, does with it and responds to all the criticism of that change, a big change nonetheless, and see how it does in the market. In my opinion, this Supra right here is amazing. I would not upgrade to a Mk6 Supra. Let's just go ahead and throw that out there. The only way we're going to upgrade is going back to a Mk4. I love Mark IVs. Obviously, we all do. If you're watching this video and you don't love Mark IV Supras, then I'm not quite sure what you're doing. But either way, good stuff coming from Toyota. Great news. Glad to see the legacy being carried on. And we're just going to have to wait and see what Toyota ultimately ends up doing with the platform. So anyway, guys, if you like this video, please give it a big fat thumbs up. If you have any comments on the addition of the Mk6 Supra, any questions on some of the stuff that's being leaked right now, drop them in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. You know the drill. And until next time, peace.